Professor Kaplan, how about it? Are the banks too big to fail, and did Harvard help contribute to the culture that allowed that to happen?
Well, I will say a lot of people are at fault. Probably would not put Harvard in that category, and I can say.
I don't think Harvard. You know what I'm saying, but the intellectual. I think Harvard is.
Let me explain.
I think Harvard creates the intellectual environment. That's all.
So I spent most of my career on Wall Street and just the last 7 years at Harvard. I think Harvard, since I've been there at least, has been very much at the forefront of asking the tough questions. And I could throw out a number of different names of leading lights on this who probably would agree pretty heavily with what Eliot Spitzer just said. Here's my own comment. First of all, I agree with the concerns that he raised. The issue is this. Banks have deleveraged. They have much more capital. That's an enormous change over the last 5 years. I would like to have seen more done on the issue of interconnectedness, which isn't talked about a lot. The issue is not that banks are too big to fail. They are too interconnected for any one of them to fail, and these derivative counterparty transactions have been a big part of that. And so the sooner that the government can bore in on that, I think the better, and get these derivatives on an exchange. Smaller size doesn't solve that problem. Interconnectedness is what we saw in the last financial crisis, and these banks were far too leveraged. They were dramatically over-leveraged. Government's done a good job in getting them now deleveraged, dramatically deleveraged. And number two, they are boring in and still trying to get to this issue of interconnectedness. And my only concern about taking a scattergun to Wall Street and going at so many issues is my fear is we're going to fail to actually regulate the 2 or 3 big issues that absolutely need to be regulated. And I think that's leverage and interconnectedness. And I would love to see the regulators really bore in on those two things. They've done on the first thing, and they need to bore in a little bit more on the second, because I think that's a big part of why we had the meltdown that we did. I believe that the banks have a role in society they've got to play, and I think they failed in the last 10 years, and that they focus more on how to make money than they did on how to add value to customers. I think the leaders of these firms have get that. In some cases, they've had to be changed out as a result, and the boards certainly get that, the ones I talk to, and I think they now have to reprove to the public they can add value. But society needs big, strong banks that can allocate capital, and I think the problem with trying to regulate 78 different things is it's very confusing now to be at a bank and know what you're supposed to be doing. I'd rather we focused on the big systemic risks that need to be managed and let these banks do their job, and the economy needs them to do their job. And I think we're getting there. We're not there, but we're getting there. Particularly, though, we've got to do more on this issue of interconnectedness.